ISO 27001 Annex A 6.5 responsibilities after termination of employment, right? After termination and change of employment, 6.5. If you've been working through these in sequence, you know that this is one of the people controls. As one of the people controls, you are going to have heavy reliance on HR professionals and legal professionals. This is not something that you, as a project delivery or information security manager, can do, right? You cannot put this in place without the help and the support of those. Your job here is to check that it is in place and then work with those professionals to make sure that they put it in place if it doesn't already exist. Okay, so we're looking here at responsibilities after people change job or they leave the organization. Let's have a look at the definition. Information security responsibilities and duties that remain valid after termination or change of employment should be defined, enforced, communicated to relevant personnel and other interested parties. So what we're looking at here is it's an extension to the terms of employment, right? About how you have legally engaged with that individual. What it's basically saying is, and we've covered it already, so it is a bit of a repetition, is make sure that the responsibilities, the requirements, the things that you need people to do after they leave the organization are clearly defined, communicated, agreed, accepted, and are for a specific period of time, right? They're not going to be open-ended. So examples of that, people try and say you can't work for a competitor for 12 months. Good luck with that. They may say you cannot, share knowledge about the organization for a period of 2 years, 5 years, 12 months, whatever it may be. But your requirement here is to make sure that that is baked into your terms of employment and your contract. So what are examples of responsibilities that remain? What kind of things can we be putting on people after they leave or they change employment? We touched on them when we did terms of business, right? Confidentiality of information, returning of all owned assets. That includes data, it includes physical assets, not disclosing confidential information to unauthorized third parties, right? So these are the kind of things that we're going to be putting in there. How would you manage that, right? So what we want to do is we want to reference back to access rights here, right? So yes, we're communicating what it is that we want people to do and we need people to do when they change role or when they leave the organization, but we are going to reference back to those access control tutorials that we did, because there are certain things that you want to make sure when somebody hands in their notice and then when they leave, right? All the things that we've already covered, let's run through them quickly. Revoking of access, collecting of assets, conducting an exit interview, reviewing of audit logs to make sure that nothing nefarious has gone on, changing passwords, changing encryption keys, reviewing all that third-party access. So there is a process of user offboarding, a HR process of user offboarding backed by an IT process of user offboarding that needs defining, documenting, and then following. But referring back to the other Annex A controls that we've done on that. So we have the requirement on the individual when they leave or change role. Then we have the technical processes for HR and for IT that back that make sure that the risks are appropriately managed of them leaving or changing that role. Who is responsible for administrating this? Usually it's going to be driven by HR, right? So the human resources team is going to deliver this. But if not, you're a small organization, either you've outsourced it or you have a team, or you're going to allocate that to some senior leadership, shareholder, director, senior manager within your organization. Okay. So relatively easy, as everything within here we have already covered. It's just about tying it together. Terms of employment, tying together the requirements on individuals when they leave, making sure it's legal, making sure that a legal professional has crafted that contract to meet that requirement. You are just making them aware that there are certain things for information security that you want them to include in that legal contract. Working with HR to make sure that that is executed in a way that follows company process, how it was distributed, how it was communicated, how it was accepted in a way that is legally enforceable and legally binding. That is your responsibility to make sure that those have occurred. You are also responsible for ensuring that the processes on termination or change, as covered in other tutorials, are in place. The return of assets, revoking of access rights, all that good stuff is in place. That the HR elements of exit interviews, if appropriate and if required, are in place, right? Your job is to check that. So that was ISO 27001 Annex A 6.5 responsibilities for termination. My name is Stuart Barker. I am the ISO 27001 Ninja. We're working through the people control. So until the next tutorial, peace out.